What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Goldilocks podcast by yours truly, Cynthia Osuna. It's been a while. I am happy to be back, but I definitely totally completely fell off for a minute, or at least more than a minute. But I'm back. I am starting the year all over again, and I want to commit to my podcast again, along with many other different goals that I have for me, for myself. Um, yeah, I would say what a start of the year. It's been crazy, crazy, crazy. Um, Unprecedented, truly, is what I can really fathom to say. But anyways, if this is your first time here in this podcast, welcome. I am your host, Cynthia Osuna. I have another channel. It's my makeup channel. It's just by my name, Cynthia, Cinthia, Osuna, Osuna. And if you like and enjoy this podcast, don't forget to leave me a review if you have any time, and you are now able to do leave comments on the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. So, where to start, where to start, where to start. I really, truly do not know, but this podcast is recording live from my bed because I refuse to put on makeup and do the whole glam and set up cameras, set up lights. Mind you, I didn't even charge my camera. I don't even know where my camera is right now, but I was like, I want to get started new, fresh and new on this year, and I want to like just get going with the podcast, and I didn't want to give myself any more excuses. So I decided to just, record whether or not you have any like visuals or video or whatever, because usually I would like for this to be a visual podcast. But that set aside, um if you hear any whining, that's just my dog, Tyson. He is a 1.5-year-old pit bull. He's handsome and he knows it. And he is laying right next to me. So if you hear him whining at any point, just know it's him. He's a really whiny boy. I already fed him. We already took him outside to go potty, and he already drank his water, so he should be fine. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. He is a whiny boy. Oh, and he just got up. He heard me. He just got up and walked away like, oh my god. He is sensitive. What are you looking at? Why are you looking at me like that? Are you mad because I talked about you to the podcast? He's looking at me right now. Anyways, I am bringing you this podcast from the comfort of my bed. And yeah, today was a rough day. Not because I did a lot. It was actually quite the opposite. I woke up and I was just like not feeling any energy. Last night I had a crazy scary nightmare because I've been freaking taking all these pills to help me sleep. It's nothing crazy, nothing like over the like pharmacy, nothing like that, but I've been taking like lots of melatonin. I've worked my way up to a really high dose. I take like 40 to 60 milligrams, which is a crazy, crazy high dose. But it's just, I've had such trouble with like sleeping. My insomnia has been off the charts. I don't even know like how to get my circadian rhythm back. Mind you, I live in Seattle, and it doesn't help that we're like in the midst of winter still, and the sun goes down, like it comes up only for like a few hours, and then it comes back down at like 5 p.m. So like that doesn't help my circadian rhythm at all whatsoever. It's in Seattle, it's always like cloudy, and it's hard to like have like sunshine coming through, which Professor Andrew Huberman from the Huberman podcast, amazing podcast, super scientific and like knowledgeable. And anyways, he says that you should have your ice, like you should have like real sunshine, not through a glass, but like if you go outside and have real sunshine, like penetrate your eyes, it like activates or resets your circadian rhythm, and it like restarts it. So we cannot have that in Seattle because it's always gray and gloomy during the winter time. So yeah, I just woke up in the middle of the night from this crazy like highway, like final destination type highway collision, multi-car collision. And I stopped the car because in the distance I saw this huge like plume of flames like running all across, like the entire like horizon was engulfed in like huge like flames of fire. And I pulled over the car abruptly, and I had a few other people with me. I know I for sure had my brother with me in the car, but I don't remember who else was in the car with me. But yeah, we hopped off that car and I was like, we gotta run the opposite way. Like, we gotta get away from the flames like immediately. And yeah, we started running away from the flames. That it was just a super trippy um nightmare, and it just felt so real. Like I have, it's crazy what your brain can like make up even though you've never seen that in real life. It's just crazy the way like your brain, the amount of creativity your brain has. It's just insane. I've had crazy dreams, nightmares in the past, but I am pretty sure, almost positive, it has to do with like all of the nighttime sleeping aids that I'm taking, like taking all this melatonin. I'm also taking this diphren something diphren HCl. It's like what they put into ZzzQuil to give it that like sedating effect. And what else am I taking? And I'm taking magnesium. So I'm combining all of these things. And then sometimes I add my L-theanine. So I'm taking all of these sleeping aids and like combining them to make this like super strong cocktail to help me sleep, because it's just been just crazy how like my body just insists on waking up like past noon, and I don't want that, you know. I want to like be able to wake up earlier, and I'm doing my best. It seems like that has been the what's it called, the running theme the last couple of months for me, is that I am simply just doing my best, doing the best that I can with what I got, pretty much. But yeah, so this day, it was one of those days where just like, just throw the whole damn day, damn day away, because I just didn't have almost any energy to do anything. Like I managed to like gather up my strengths to take Tyson, my dog, out on like a 1.4 mile walk around the Seattle center. So we did that. So I'm glad I was able to get like that long walk and 2 extra potty breaks for him. I was able to keep my home clean. Like I did all of my dishes, and I'm just happy I was able to do to do even just the bare minimum, like keeping my home clean. I cleaned the kitchen, keeping myself clean, you know, showering, walking my dog, feeding my dog, all of that. Pretty much responsibilities that I absolutely have to do. And yeah, doing this podcast is really just an extra for me, because it's something that I'm like kind of pushing myself to do, even though there's no like visuals today for the podcast. But if you hear any crackling, that's my dog chewing on his bone right now. Don't mind him, he's keeping himself entertained. But yeah, that's just kind of how it's been. But oh my god, has it been a crazy beginning of the year. It's been crazy. I guess it all started with Trump capturing Maduro. It was like on day 2 of this year that like I woke up to YouTube. I think I was like actually awake during the like 4 a.m. when I saw like the very first videos, like the announcement saying like, oh, like Trump administration captures Maduro and like has him like he's on his way back to the US, and you're like, what the hell? It's really crazy. That's just really like the tip of the iceberg, I feel, because like the events that followed the capture of Maduro have been like equally as like yes, upsetting, but just like surprising. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard to try to get into like Trump's mind, but like all of the events that followed afterwards, like I guess like the most shocking part was like him claiming that, oh, we got Maduro out, like we're gonna run Venezuela now. That alone right there, that is like the most like shocking like announcement. What do you mean you're gonna run Venezuela? Like you can barely run the United States of America. And it's just been insane. At the end of the day, we all know this has to do with Venezuela's oil. Like, duh, it's just like a power move to get all of Venezuela's oil so that Trump can fill his pockets and the pockets of all of the oil oligarchs. And it's, you know, if even if you're mildly educated, you know, you can tell this is all about the oil and not about said drugs, narcos, this and that. But we're just living in crazy times. I do want to say, you know, it's really truly unprecedented. But yeah, Maduro is in New York City. He's in jail with his wife, which is just so crazy. Mind you, I feel like his wife during the raid, you know, when the Delta Squad went in and just like shot at all of his security and, you know, capture Maduro, I'm pretty sure his wife like got in front of Maduro and was like, you leave my husband alone. And they probably like used the back of their guns to like nudge her on the ribs and be like, shut up, like sit down, because she actually had like bruised up ribs, you know. They had some injuries, specifically the wife, but I think I think she got like tried to get in between the fight, and that just didn't work. You know, she was just being a loyal wife, I guess. But he, from what I've heard, he's done some really bad things, Maduro, and that he's like a legit dictator. And like many Venezuelans have agreed that things were like way worse down on the ground in Venezuela than what people from the outside world could even imagine. So good for Venezuela. Like there was so many people like happy about that. But so here's the thing, like now that Trump did this whole like power move against Venezuela, captured its leader, saying we're gonna run the country for like, you know, no deadline, he's making all these claims, and like the European nation, Russia, China, like nobody contested him. Like nobody said, hey, you can't do that, like, you know. And like because of that, I think Trump only got even more bold. Like that only like threw more what is it, fuel to the fire. Like Trump is emboldened now, and which led him to claim, oh well, now we're going to claim Greenland, or we want Greenland. And just like all of these, some people say he's doing like this huge elaborate circus to distract from the Epstein files, which by the way were released but were heavily redacted. Like they were just crossed out, blacked out, like whole pages, blacked out sections of the Epstein files. A lot of Americans still believe that he's doing all of this in part to also cover up for the Epstein files, which is just so crazy. It's been years and I don't know, they're just still fighting for it, and it's coming close. But I don't know if they're ever going to have like a fully redacted, you know, list of names of people. At this point, like, it might be an unpopular opinion, but at this point, we really need the Epstein files, the Epstein list. It's been like more than 6 years. It has to be at least like 7, 8 years. or maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Maybe, it does matter to the people, especially the victims and everything. And, people in power, very powerful men should be held accountable for their actions. But at this point, it's just like been years and people just want to see like powerful men fall. But I don't know. It's been such a long fight. I don't know if Epstein files will ever be released to the public, and which is quite unfortunate. But so many Americans were saying Trump was trying to cause this huge elaborate distraction from Epstein files by doing this whole like claim on Venezuela and now threatening Greenland. And he also threatened, Mexico, Colombia. Trump is saying Cuba's going to fall now that they're not going to have Venezuelan support. Like, Trump is really playing like Hitler. It's giving Hitler, just a little history lesson. Hitler invaded multiple small territories before he went like full war against like the world, pretty much. But like he invaded like, Czechoslovakia and was it Romania? I don't know, but it's giving Hitler. Trump is giving Hitler at the very beginning of his regime, and it makes me really sad to make this comparison, but hey, you know what they say? They say history repeats itself, and the present day is doing kind of just that with Trump. But he's just getting, even bolder and bolder and bolder, and nobody is really doing anything to stop him, which is even more frightening. So that's the whole territory claims catastrophe that started off the year with the Trump administration. And now I want to talk about something even more upsetting, which is the unfortunate death of that Minneapolis 37-year-old Minneapolis lady who had 2 children and died at the hands of ICE. Mind you, this was a U.S. citizen standing up for her community, and they pretty much did like a blockade against ICE agents, and she was the one in a car, and the ICE agent in the video is showed that was trying to get into the car, grabbed the door handle, was trying to get in the car, and this woman looked like she was like afraid, and she like turned to the right, and that's when the ICE officer shot at her multiple times and killed her in cold blood in broad daylight. U.S. citizen. So this to me just says like, now they're coming after everybody. ICE is just this like rogue entity that's running with no guardrails whatsoever, doing pretty much just Trump's dirty work. And they murdered an innocent woman who was a U.S. citizen in broad daylight in cold blood. And this is really where like things get scary, because Maduro being captured, Trump throwing threats at Greenland, that's all political stuff. But ICE killing an innocent woman in broad daylight, that is like a real personal national security threat to us Americans, because that, to me, that should say that none of us are safe. And that is a very, very dangerous place to be as a nation. And may she rest in peace. My condolences to like the families. I feel truly, truly awful that children, I hope they're not orphans, but now they're gonna have to be raised without a mother, and that's just tragic. So all of this in mind, we have to consider the parallels between ICE being the peacekeepers in the Hunger Games and Trump being President Snow. So in this instance, Trump is using ICE as peacekeepers, right? It starts off very like, what's the word? It starts off not innocent, but yeah, it starts off kind of innocent. They're just like raiding, picking on certain people, but then it gets to like trying to control like entire communities, and that's how the Hunger Games started, guys. There's some very, very direct parallels between our reality and the freaking Hunger Games. Trump being President Snow, pretty much, because at this point, after all of these people took to the streets, there was angry mobs of people protesting the death of this innocent US citizen that was killed, that Trump decided to send out even more ICE agents to Minneapolis when like the community is already super traumatized and angry. And I doubt it is to keep the peace. Trump is sending in more ICE agents to suppress these Americans' voices that are trying to protest ICE. Trump is giving President Snow. And we're living in the Hunger Games. This right here is the start of the Hunger Games. And on Instagram, I saw Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. I follow her on Instagram, and they showed this reel where the press asked her like what she thought about like the death of the U.S. citizen lady in Minneapolis, and this was the very first time I have ever seen Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez look scared. She looked dazed, like not really like her usual present self, and she just looked dazed. She looked scared, like her gaze was just not very set on anyone, and she was just kind of like disassociating from like her from that present moment. But she gave like condolences, and but what really shocked me in this reel, this was the first time I have ever seen AOC look truly scared. And if AOC is scared, she's showing like that tension on social media. I don't think she did it on purpose, but I could see, because I've been following her for years, I could see on her face that at this moment, after ICE decided to attack US citizens in broad daylight and kill them at gunpoint, at the direction of Trump's orders, like AOC looked scared. And that's when I started feeling scared, because I could see the look in her face, like, oh shit, because she had claimed in the past, like, 4 more years of Trump, we don't know what's going to be left of democracy if he rules for another 4 years. And fast forward all this time, Trump becomes president, and all of these terrible things happen. And at that very moment, it was a few days ago that she had this interview, she looked scared. And that's when I knew, oh shit, we're in deep trouble. Because there are many things that can like I'm just a very, very strong individual, and I don't let things get to my head. But at this point, I do feel really scared. And it's just the parallels, the similarities happening right now between our present day America and the start of the Hunger Games, the movie, is just way too relevant. It's way too real. Like, it's really scary. And to solidify my point that we are living in, literally, guys, living in the beginning of the Hunger Games in our present day America. It was December 13th, 2025, Trump actually announced the Patriot Games. So I found this. My source was fox10phoenix.com, and I'm going to read you a little passage. This is real. I'm not lying to you guys. Okay. The passage reads, the Patriot Games are anticipated to go down during the fall of 2026 with a broader slate of Freedom 250 events, set to include a Great American State Fair as well as a UFC event to be held on the White House lawn. For those interested in competing in the Patriot Games or finding more information on this first of its kind national high school showcase, visit freedom250.org. End of passage. That I grabbed that paragraph from an actual article, and if you look up Patriot Games, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So Trump is actually trying to start his own version of the Hunger Games, and he's saying, "Oh, it's like, it's just an athletic competition. It's harmless, this and that, but it's pretty much like one kid, one child, not a teenager, one child, one girl, and one boy, pretty much from like every state is going to participate in this Patriot game, and who knows? It's a US, so they're actually going to fight each other. They say it's an athletic competition, but it's UFC's involved, So it's like this is a real article, and you can't make this stuff up. Like Trump is actually creating his own version of the Hunger Games. Like I'm not exaggerating or kidding you guys, or trying to like fear monger, but this is real. This is so real. This is real life. Like shit is hitting the fan super hard, super quickly, and honestly, I really don't think what we're I don't think we're ready for the rest of 2026, considering this is just the beginning. And we should really, be vigilant and use our voices to speak up. And while we still can, and gathering community and lean on each other, and I don't want to say fight the regime because that's so dramatic, but just like fight for your rights. Go out and vote. I'm not trying to sound too political. I feel like I'm getting really political, but honestly, I'm coming from a place of just like fear, and it's just uncertainty is what scares me the most, not knowing what's going to come next. But to leave this point in a positive way, I just want to say just lean on each other and make sure that you vote, especially when midterms come up during this springtime. Do not forget. Okay, so on a lighter note, I want to talk about Stranger Things. So the Stranger Things finale, I am ready to fight someone. Ready to fight someone. Duffer Brothers are first on my list of people that I want to WWE SmackDown. So let's get started. So if you're living under a rock, you know that the season 5 finale of Stranger Things happened over the holidays, and fans had a lot to say about the finale. I myself included in that. So I want to start off with like Billy Bobby Brown's plastic surgery and all of the TikTok backlash and the memes that happened. So I just want to start off by saying I was disappointed with the finale. Point blank and period. I was very let down, very disappointed, and it looks like a lot of other, or the vast majority of the Stranger Things fans were also super disappointed with the ending. But I could not help but notice that on TikTok, everyone was pointing out Millie Bobby Brown's, who plays the character 11, and her seemingly plump features, and people were being so mean on TikTok. Like they were clowning on her hard. Like they were like comparing her to like handsome Squidward. I don't know if you've seen that meme. It's this handsome Squidward has like a super chiseled jaw and like super high cheekbones, and they were comparing Millie's look on the Stranger Things finale to handsome Squidward and other like super like manly characters. Just because like people were putting like before and after pictures, and like I don't know, like some of the lighting that they used on the Stranger Things finale on the last episode really highlighted all of her like contoured face features. I don't have anything against it, but people could tell it was like she wasn't playing the character 11 very well because she couldn't use her face to express her emotions. So a lot of people on the comment section were like, oh, I don't see Elle anymore, I see Millie Bobby Brown. And really it was just because of the plastic surgery. But then Millie Bobby Brown responds, and she was like, on TikTok, she was like, I am not going to apologize for growing into a woman, and people are so mean. And I wish I had like the actual like video, but hold on, maybe I can find it on TikTok. Okay. Well, I cannot find it, but she pretty much was like, I'm not going to apologize for, becoming a woman. Or people don't get that, in this industry, you grow from like a child into like an actual adult and this and that. But yeah, so, I mean, it was kind of funny at one point, with the memes and everything, because it was kind of a drastic change, a drastic look. But she's an actress, and you can tell by her plastic surgery she has spent a lot of time in LA, where pretty much everybody gets plastic surgery done. But to each their own. She's happy, and that's what matters. And but yeah, I just it was just tragic. It was very tragic. There was so many open plot holes that had no closure. And people were saying on TikTok that they should have made the last episode into 2 episodes. And I agree. But honestly, I feel like it could have been like 3 or 4 episodes from all of the open plot holes that they had. And even part of the storylines in the last episode, like some characters got captured by the military. We don't know what happened to those characters. So, like things like that, when you leave like so many open endings, it's just really truly disappointing. And everybody on TikTok was comparing the ending of Stranger Things 5, the finale, to like HBO fumbling the Game of Thrones finale, which was also, I guess, like super duper like upsetting and a letdown of a finale for such a great show. That's how a lot of the fans, Stranger Things fans, felt for Stranger Things and the ending, and that just didn't do it any justice. But so yeah, I was just very disappointed. I wanted to like punch a wall when I saw the ending. And like apparently they're gonna use some of the kids that were featured in this season, some of the younger kids, and they're gonna use those kids in a spin-off of Stranger Things. And honestly, I feel like the writers of Stranger Things focus more on connecting this story to the spin-off that's coming as a money grab, instead of focusing on like the true story that was Stranger Things. And pretty much Elle was supposed to be the main character, but she wasn't, because the new kids that entered this season were like the main focus, and people were just so mad. And pretty much they killed the main villain, Vecna, in like a second, in like 4 minutes. There were no Demogorgons, no Demodogs, no Demobats, nothing like Stranger Things, the upside down creatures. None of them showed up to the final fight, and it was just a mess. So I was mad about that for a while. But what else did I? Oh yeah, I also wanted to talk about my point of view that Stranger Things is satanic. I think Stranger Things is satanic, demonic, starting with like the very first season, how Joyce, the mom, was trying to communicate with her son, who was on the other side, using like the Christmas lights and this like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. She wrote down the whole alphabet, and that's kind of like, similar to doing like a Ouija board to talk to the people on the other side. So there's like that similarity. And when I first saw the Christmas lights, it seemed kind of like, to some people it would seem unique to Stranger Things, but I was like, like you're using an alphabet to talk to your son who's on the other side. That's kind of like a little too similar to like using a Ouija board to talk to like demons. So that was like my very first like, not red flag, but I don't know what to call it, similarity to it being like satanic or demonic. What else? Oh yeah, like in the last season, Henry, after he captures all the children, which he went on this huge like mission to capture all the children from Hawkins, all the young children, to use them on his big plan. So once he had captured all the children. He set them around in a table, and he held hands with them in a circle, and all the kids held hands with each other. And once that like circle was complete and they were all holding hands, like everyone like looked up, and you can see their eyes rolling to like their back of their heads, so that in their eyes you could only see like white. And to me, that like was a similarity to like a satanic seance, where you're trying to like conjure up like all kinds of evil spirits. So that's another similarity. A consistent like satanic, demonic activity that pretty much is prevalent throughout the whole entire series of Stranger Things. And also, like, season 4, people loved season 4, and like, to me, I felt like season 4 of Stranger Things was way too gory. I'm talking like, whoa. Because, in season 4, there were like kids and some preteens, but there were kids suffering like extremely brutal deaths. And to me, at first, like, I was super shocked of how gory and scary Stranger Things 4 was. It was like the teens were like levitating when Vecna had them under his like mind control or whatever. Like, the teens were levitating from the ground, and their eyes started rolling to the back of their head, so they looked like white. And all of this was happening, and then afterwards, like, their bones would break one by one. Like, their limbs would break in like 90-degree angles in like a super like scary and traumatic way. And then their jaw would break and like dislocate from their skull by Vecna, like the demon. And that's just like, that's another similarity between like that happening and like demon possession, so that's like another what would you call it, like a similarity. That's another one of my points of like saying why Stranger Things is like satanic pretty much, and everybody loved it. They were like, oh my god, like, season 4 was so good, but I felt like it was way too scary at that point. Like, Stranger Things, it became just like, it was not a kids show at that point on for me, because season 4 was way, 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 way too scary. If I was a mom, I would not let my children watch that. I would be like, no way, Jose, like, I know you're going to have nightmares at night, and like, that's not happening on my watch. But yeah, like, this whole like theme in season 4 of like Vecna like stalking his victims' minds, and then torments his victims, and then kills them at the end to pretty much claim their soul. And he tells like the kids, he's like, oh, like, don't worry now, like, you're gonna come with me. That's what like a demon would do in like, say, a possession. And I know a lot of people don't believe in this kind of stuff, but I'm Catholic, and I was always raised like, very spiritually, and I was always told by my mom, don't go looking for what you don't want to find. So if I believe in God, I know there's like negativity around us, around the world. So anyways, aside from that, oh yeah, and like, one last thing I want to say about Stranger Things that I found out on TikTok was that the Stranger Things lab was actually inspired by a real government program involving kids, mind control, telekinesis, and it's actually called the Montauk Project, and it was run by the CIA in like this abandoned like Cold War bunker in the 1970s, I think it was, and it was in Montauk, New York. So that is spelled, the Montauk Project is MONTAUK project. So if you do your own research on TikTok, trust me, you will find it. And it was pretty much of them like taking these runaways, these orphan kids, and doing all sorts of like pretty much the exact same thing the kids went through on Stranger Things, like mind control, going into like the sensory deprivation tanks and doing all these kinds of stuff. They're putting them in isolation, and even like, apparently they even did like some extreme things like open up portals, and they specifically said on the Montauk project that the kids actually had contact with non-human intelligence called the others, and it shows pictures of like aliens from like different dimensions, and it's just super trippy stuff. So if you want to like go down a rabbit hole, I know I did on TikTok. If you look up the Montauk Project, that's where the Stranger Things plotline came from. And actually, Stranger Things was actually going to be called Montauk, but I guess someone somewhere out there decided to call it Stranger Things instead. So that's just, something that was really interesting. In case you want to look that up, it's out there in the internet world. And I want to say a big fu to the Duffer Brothers for messing up one of my absolute favorite shows of all time, Stranger Things. Even though I do think it's pretty demonic, yeah. Yeah, but they just ruined the ending, and I think they just did it as like a money grab for their lame ass spin-off that I'm not going to watch because I'm super pissed off at them. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been more than 40 minutes. I think I'm just gonna call it a night, and I'm going to upload this episode and just go to bed. And hopefully next week I'll have even more to talk about. Hopefully positive things. I'm going to try to talk about positive things. And yeah, hopefully shit doesn't hit the fan next week, and we're all still here. But anyways, thank you so much for listening to my episode, especially if you stuck till the end. I'm sorry there was no visuals today. There was no video, but I just couldn't fathom, or I couldn't bring myself to get ready, get all pretty, dolled up, and do my hair, do my nails, and just to get this episode up, But episodes are supposed to be voice only anyways. But I'm glad I was able to, put something up, especially for the beginning of the year, because I want to be consistent this year. Tyson, get out of the way. He almost stepped on my laptop. Okay, it's already too long. Sayonara, everyone. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.